So my name is Robert Manna. I'm a digital practice specialist with Stantec, which is an architecture and engineering firm, and I focus on helping to deliver design technology to our end users. Before we had UNIFI, we had a bit of a disaster with content management, so we were actively seeking a content management solution to help put all our content in one place. We are a very large firm with over 200 locations, so using file servers or anything like that to manage our content was not really going to work for us. So the problems we're trying to solve with adopting a content management platform was the fact that, again, with 200 some odd locations at Stantec, we needed a central repository that was accessible to all of our users with relatively easy access, searchable, that we could tag or add extra metadata to the content as well, and again, fundamentally be able to manage our content in a structured way as opposed to storing files on a file server, which again, for our scope and size, just wasn't going to work as a sustainable long-term solution. Ultimately, UNIFI has helped improve our workflow because we're able to tell users when they ask us for something, have you looked at UNIFI first? So a great example is title blocks. Again, being a large firm, we ultimately have, I think, somewhere on the order of 70 or 80 different title blocks at this point because we have both imperial and metric and a variety of sizes. And just that alone, being able to tell people the title blocks are in UNIFI, go there to get them, you can search for them. We've organized them into different safe searches to make it easy to sort of find what you're looking for. That's the kind of thing that we're replicating across all of our content, and that's just sort of one really good vignette of how UNIFI has helped to make the user experience better with accessing content. We don't actually worry too much about how much time we're saving with UNIFI, which is kind of funny, right? Because lots of people worry about, well, how is it going to save me time? We know, again, because of size and scope, just having that repository that's easy to manage, easy to control, easy to give access to, that's saving time. And we don't really care about the individual numbers because anything else would be, again, just not workable in terms of how we get it done. So it's a bit ironic that we don't worry about that because, again, with a file server-based solution, it would just be unmanageable for us. So just knowing that we have a central repository where we can direct users to, and then if they still aren't finding what they're looking for, that's sort of a whole separate conversation in terms of, okay, well, what is it you actually need, or what can we do to help you out further? So yeah, it's sort of interesting that time is not really a big part of our conversation, at least. At the time that we adopted UNIFI, the biggest thing that stood out for us was scalability. Because it's cloud-based, web-based, that meant a lot to us because we have 200-something locations, and that's just in North America. Since the time that we adopted UNIFI, Stantec's grown extensively now into Australia and much more penetration into the United Kingdom, and with expected continued growth throughout the globe. So having a content management service that, again, is based in the cloud and therefore easily accessed from any of those users. We're not reliant on either one server sitting in our data center or a sort of a mesh network of distribution within our own infrastructure. That was a huge piece for us because other solutions that were out there, we just didn't think they were going to be scalable across the size and scope of our organization. What have we been able to achieve with using UNIFI? Again, I come back to the fact that something as simple as our 60+ title blocks are in one location. Now, in the last couple of years, since adopting UNIFI, the practice is coming around to more standardized content. That wasn't something that we had a lot of previously, which is why I like to use title blocks as an example, because that was one of the few areas that we could point to and say, yeah, we've got absolutely standardized content. But now, again, particularly our engineering practice areas are finally focused on developing unified content for at least the North American market. Again, with our expansion to the UK and Australia, we have content repositories there that will now be in UNIFI coming from the firms that we acquired there. So again, it's providing that basis of here's where you go to get your content. And if somebody comes along and says, hey, we would like to standardize content, great, we have a platform ready and waiting to put that standardized content into and make it easy for people to access, because we can do things like save searches, metadata tagging, et cetera, which again is making it a much more fluid and functional workflow for our end users. So we're happy to recommend UNIFI. We've been very happy with them as a vendor. So if you're looking for a content management solution, it's definitely something that we have no issue recommending, and we're of course always happy to answer questions too. I would say the one feature in UNIFI that we probably rely on the most, beyond just the fact that we can aggregate content, is the save search functionality. Because again, that allows us to, if we have 10,000 families, let's say, you can parcel it out into something that our users can easily consume. So a great example there is there's a save search set up for start your MEP model here. That's not exactly what we call it, but again, if somebody's starting an electrical model, there's a save search for here's the content you should load into your model if you're just starting on any electrical project. Now that may not be everything that somebody needs. They may have to go do some searching in UNIFI to find some specialty families that they do need for their particular project. But again, we can say, yeah, here's what we are fairly certain 90% of our projects are going to need to use. It's all organized. You can go and load it into your project and you're off and running. So again, that safe search functionality is really valuable in making it more accessible to the end users. We haven't gotten into using project analytics very much. What's interesting though is we worked very closely with UNIFI on providing input on how to develop those features, because it's something we already do internally. So we keep a very close eye on it, and we may adopt that in the future. UNIFI has been a great company to work with. Ultimately, they're still that sort of nice size where it's fairly easy to talk to them, talk to the development team, provide input, and it's been a real pleasure to work with their team.